Maybe if you take a couple steppy back. Okay. And you can stop filming now.
Go on.
Hey everybody, I had the idea that I was gonna go around my neighborhood and check out some local parks, because the thing about parks is that once you get to a certain age in your life, they're kind of just there and they're just sitting there and no one ever talks about them. Today I'm going to be reviewing my neighborhood parks and ranking them, which one is the best and which one is the worst. So I have some criterias. The layout and the design. Does it make me feel good? Number 2, cleanliness. Does it make me feel safe? Number 3, the target demographic, which is, are the children annoying and do they making me want to take my ovaries out? And number 4 is how fun it is, and does it make me feel good? I don't know if that is a good ranking system, and we're just gonna figure it out as we go along. But the first park is just your local dive. It's just the park that every kid has next to their house. The second park is kind of like your mid-tier, like little bit more upscale than your neighborhood dive, but a little less up there than the State of Art. And the third park isn't State of Art because my filmographer doesn't really want to go that far, so, but it'll be our top tier. It is and the third tier will be State of the Art. That was the worst intro. That was terrible. That was dog shit. Okay, stop filming.
I start now.
The first park we're going to, kids, is well, it's kind of just like there, like doesn't really get much appreciation. I understand. This is the thing. I want to be completely objective, because like I understand that not every neighborhood is going to have the same amount of money as other neighborhoods. So we're just looking at it completely from functionality perspective and whether it genuinely makes a good park for, does it like fulfill its purposes, what it's meant to do, you know, because even the most ADHD kid can't be that entertained by a park for too long. That's actually contradicting everything. You know, eventually you're gonna get sick of a park, regardless of how ADHD you are. But does it fulfill the purposes of a park, which is to be a park? I forgot my criteria.
You're bad at this.
Bad at what? What exactly?
Park reviews.
I'm really fucking bad at park reviews. Maybe I should have written like some script before this. Parks. Your best park. Your childhood memories. Kissing underneath the slide. Shitting in the sandbox. I'm about to test drive the slide. It's a little wet, but I'm willing to make those sacrifices for content. Ah! Whoa, fuck! That is cool. First impressions, not great. Ultimately feeling like the wetness of the slide itself really detracts from the experience. You really have to make sure that your park is really climate built for different like weather conditions, because you know, after a rainy day your ass is gonna be wet after being on the slide, so you know, you can't be just, you have to be year round, mate. You can't just wait for summer. Ultimately really did like the speed. It go down pretty fast. It did get up to some impressive speeds down that bad boy. Not the smoothest landing, I have to say. Some kids could definitely get injured. That's my main concern. You don't want kids getting injured. But yeah, no, I think I'll overall give the slide about 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 rubber chickens. We also have another part 2 over here. This one's a little bit more tame.
Beach slide.
Bitch slide. This is for your little bitch weak ass little cousin who you don't want to come over to your house, but your mum's like, oh, we have to keep our family closer. The aunts and uncles, they are the ones with the money. So your bitch ass cousin comes over and you know, it just sort of deal with them because they're the ones with the bread. So yeah, overall, fuck this slide. Moving on, really like the little installation over here. Some great potentials for other uses, like some fun little games, like competitive, keep a game going, like when you're with your friend and like the conversation starts to plateau. You're like, hey man, just want to play some XOXO, what's it called again?
Knots and crosses.
Knots and crosses. I am not a fan of the colour
You
palette.
pointed at the cross.
I am not a fan of the colour palette. I think the yellow stands out a bit too much. If you squint your eyes, your eye just goes straight towards the knots and crosses, and that's just very jarring to me. Moving over onto the fireman's pole. Please don't look at my bum, it's very wet. I'm gonna say this because I'm 20 years old, but the thing is I don't like to lie to you guys, like, and see, I'm too scared to go down this. A 20-year-old me, I'm too scared. Do you think a bitch ass little 5-year-old's gonna want to go down this? How about a bitch ass 6-year-old's gonna want to go down this? No one's gonna want to go down this fire pole because I'm like, if a 20-year-old is too scared to go down it, do you really think like a kid's gonna want to go down there? No, absolutely fucking not. No way. So there's no shame in saying like there's some rides I'm just not willing to do. This is one of them. Moving on over to the curly whirly. While I find it visually impressive, I don't really see the main point of it. I feel like it's a little bit there just to kind of fill space, and for that I'm just not overly impressed. Like, with the bridge, a bridge is a classic, essential. You need a bridge with every playground you got. How many playgrounds you've been to without a bridge? Don't answer that if you are poor and your playgrounds don't have bridges. But like, you know, this is just here to fill space. And you're like, woo! Look, I can climb up it. Bitch, that's what a fucking ladder's for. Okay, moving on. Fuck you. The bridge, while I'm impressed, there is a bridge is an essential. I am a little underwhelmed, unfortunately, because unpopular opinion, I kind of like a shaky bridge. This one just ain't shaky enough for me. You kind of go across, you're like, yeah, one side to the other. Why did the chicken cross the road? I don't fucking know. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of there. I also feel like it's just not a fun bridge. It's just like not a good bridge. I don't know what else to fucking say. These little knobby boys. While I appreciate, you know what? Like, I appreciate knobby boys. Like, you'll be with your friends and you'll be talking about like, oh my god, who do you like? And then like you'll be like, no one. Look, anyone. That's always, I always like kind of something to play with while I'm... This is getting very phallic.
It's also good for the young aspiring accountants.
You'd be like, stonks. Hey kid, you wanna invest in some Bitcoin? I heard Bitcoin be going up by 2%. Profits share. Profit markets be like. Yep, okay, I think we just fucking unpopular opinion. I feel like steps are indeed an essential to every playground because after a while you're gonna get a little tired of climbing up and down the ladder. So I think it's always good to have a pair of some stairs just to get up and down. Saves time, doesn't get my hands dirty. We're good. Moving on to the swing.
I already see a problem here.
What's the problem, Doc?
You come here with a friend, you want to go on the swings together, someone has to get the bitch baby seat.
You read my mind. I just saw that and I was like, there's no way my pear ass butt is gonna fit in there. I was just like, there's absolute no way. I know these opinions are a little controversial, but I personally feel like this is fat shaming because I've seen some. I know this is purpose built for a baby, but I've seen some fat ass babies in my lifetime. You gonna fat shame a baby? That's fucking dog, bro. Like, I think we start making seats a little wider, and back like what you were saying earlier before is like you bring a friend and like you guys kind of like there's gonna be some point in the conversation that you guys start making your way over swings. It gets a little awkward because it's like, who's gonna get the bitch ass baby seat? Not me. I got a pear ass butt. But they're like, I don't want to get the baby seat either. So then it's like a fight and it's awkward, and then someone ends up just like sitting there. And then you're just like, Irene kid. You're not, and crosses. Bum, bum. Okay. Wide open spaces. This is what parks are all about. You want to get out there. You want to get outside. You want some fresh ass air. The only problem I foresee having is that, so what happens if someone brings a footy, right? Like you bring a footy and someone kicks a footy, it boots it a little too far, it goes right over a cliff. Who's gonna get the footy? Not me. I don't want to get the footy. You're the one who brought the footy, mate. I don't even like football. But I do foresee some issues arising from this cliff. Although the view, absolutely spectacular, breathtaking, unparalleled. And I give the view a good, I don't know, I'd say 8 rubber chickens out of 10. Moving over to the bed. This is very important because it'll say a lot about our target demographic. So far we got Uno cards and some dry nuts and some Great Northern beer. So clearly you can tell that a demographic is roughly between 13 and 14 year olds, little piss ass wing babies who can't who wet the bed and drink beer because they think they're cool and play Uno. And personally I find that my preferred target demographic is little bitch ass 5-year-olds because they're very easily, you can just like knock them out the way. You're like, oh, you're on the swing? No, you're not. I'm on the swing. You try to do that to a 14-year-old. You know 14-year-olds these days, they're having sex. Yeah, they're having sex nowadays, guys. And I'm just not prepared to deal with that. Have you ever tried fighting a 14-year-old? Bro, they get like personal. They get like, oh, you're so ugly. I don't want to fight. I just want to play the swing, bro. I don't want to fight. Like, square up with me. I'm just like, I don't know. Overall speaking, I think good, not great. But it is, after all, a like typical neighborhood park dive. You know, you might smoke some cigs here with your friends if you have any. But so I think for that purpose, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Good, not great. Moving on. Now that's a swing set I like to see. And look, duo controls. You can alternate between standing, but easily transition from standing motion to sitting. It's just that easy. Unfortunately, guys, we do have a little bit of inequality over here because the same can't be said with my good friends and dear companion, swing set number 2. But I guess that's the playground industry we're working in. We move over here. Now this is a 5-hole I can get behind because I'm not scared to go down. So therefore I can give it an honest review. It does hurt my hands a little bit, but that's a little bit a bit of a given at this point. Fire poles are always going to be. And next we move over to the chains. I'm not a big fan of chains myself, but I do appreciate how sturdy these ones are. Normally I like a shaky bridge, but chains, I like them a little bit on the sturdy side because they're a little bit unpredictable and you never know. So I give the chains bridge 7 out of 10 rubber chickens. I would say this is, what are you? Are you a ladder or are you a bridge? At this point I think this is a bit of fluff, you know, you just fill in space at this point. But it's gonna be a little scary for younger kids, but for older kids, I reckon it's not so bad. Unfortunately, we don't really have any shaky bridges. We got sturdy stuff, but this is a mid-tier, so I guess it's what you're kind of expecting from mid-tier range playgrounds, is you're not really gonna get the same shake, but you know, it does the job. I can't see anything, but wait, oh. Same thing here. No, oh, it's got a tiny bit of shake, but just not at a desired amount. Next we got the slide, the big round ball of the playground. I do appreciate the fact that the water hasn't collected that much, but I'll have to give it a test run before I can give any opinions. Again, I feel like everything about this playground is very mid-tier. Like, that's a very mid-tier slide. I have to say, I'm actually more impressed by the first slide because even though my ass is dry, it's a little sandy, and also the friction between me and the slide unfortunately impacted my speed. So I'd have to give it a 5 out of 10 rubber chickens. Now, even though I am largely unimpressed by this park, due to the just kind of mehness, it's all good. It's good, but not great. I do appreciate the gym because I know what I was saying about fat babies and equality, but at least give them babies a chance. Chance and hope aren't that expensive, but it does cost taxpayer money. In good time, I will get buff. Thank you. My overall thought, I'm a little bit more, I don't know if I'd go out of my way to come here, if I'm being honest. I think with the neighborhood dive, it's a little bit more accessible and it's also not that much worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got a better slide, and I would say the extra points for the gym, you know, like a gym's good to see, but yeah, I don't know, I just not worth it in my opinion. I wanted to be objective here because I know that not every park is going to have the same resources, not every neighborhood's going to have the same amounts of money put into parks and recreation, but like, bro, this shit's epic. Like, my brother called and he wants his turn on the G-Wagon, Tesla. This shit's off the hook. This shit's off the charts. Whoa, get a little heated. So first things first, we've got a cafe and we've got robot toilets. We also have wide open spaces. Alright, this is the New Yorker parks, boys. We made it. We freaking made it. This is like the kind of view you have when you're like a kid living it up in the dream house and you buy your first tree house, and this is the view. This is the view. You can utilize this spot for footy. You can utilize the spot for chasey. You can utilize the spot for a whole bunch of different things. Octopus, boom, done. Plenty of wide open space. We've also got this nice little track going around, which is really good for bikes and rollerblading and scootering and ripsticking and chasing your brother around and falling over and hitting your knee. And unfortunately, due to YouTube censorship laws, you can't film kids. Can't do it. Unfortunately, this park is loved by many, and the target demographic are ones who cannot be filmed, which is really sad. I didn't think about this. This wasn't something I considered. So we're going to
film it from a distance, and we'll let you imagine how cool it is.
Okay, can we try find some areas to film that aren't going to feature children? And I'm not going to yell.
There's like 4 areas.
We can just like.
I'm looking at every single area, and I can count
I
at
won't
least.
say anything. We'll just
Yeah, but we're still gonna have a camera. So you can't film kids at a playground.
You really can't. But like, where's that like shot where there's no kids?
Here.
What
this
about
is.
over here?
This is.
I want to see.
If this is the last video you see before we're both arrested, I had nothing to do with it.
This actually says a lot about society these days, is that kids, they don't play chasey like they used to because they're so busy on their iPad. And they don't have any imagination. I see a wide open space as a kid, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm moving in my castle, and I'm a princess, and I run the world. We ain't fooling around here, son. This is purpose built for all seasons of all times of the year, all sunshiny climates, and the rainiest of rains. Only problem I foresee having is I reckon this seat would get really hot during summer. But as far as wetness goes, it stayed pretty dry. So ultimately, thanks taxpayers for your money, because my ass ain't gonna get wet. Unfortunately, that real initial thrill that I tend to get from slides wasn't really there because there's too much friction between my butt and that slide. So ultimately, it did impact my overall experience. But I would say a good feature is that my butt did indeed stay dry. I am really appreciative of that. Moving over to Spider. This is a really good utilization of space and taxpayer money because there are lots of different opportunities of games you can play. Like you can play Spider, which is just like this. Like you just be a spider. I'm gonna get killed. This is my last video. Or you can play like Spider Chasey, which is like this. I'm gonna get ya. I'm gonna get ya. I don't have a friend with me right now, but you can imagine what Spider Chasey would look like. Only problem I foresee having is that there are some potential OSH violations, occupational health and safety violations, a few broken arms potentially, a few broken hearts, a couple kids I knew back in the day. There was spiderweb brought out the worst in people because you know, you say, oh, I'll be, look at me, mommy, I can climb so high, and then you get stuck on the top, and then your mom has to help carry you down because you're too scared to jump. I knew a couple kids back in the day whose prides were really hurt by that. But overall speaking, really good utilization of taxpayer money, really good utilization of space. 10 out of 10. Taxpayer money was like, taxpayer money, saying it's going to waste. You know what the government said? It'll be good for the economy. Kids are learning how to mine. You don't learn this in Minecraft. That's some good ass sand. Good for the economy.
Rating and then let's go.
10 out of 10, perfect, I love it.